Hi guys, can you all hear me?
Yes, miss.
All right. Okay, so let me share the slides now. Guys, can you all see the slides?
Yes, can see.
All right. Okay, so let me go into the presentation mode. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll come back to this mode and we'll do the lecture.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Can you all see the slides on the full screen mode?
No, miss, it's black.
Oh, okay. The same issue then. Um, so if we do like this, like in this normal mode, will you be able to see the slides? Guys, hold on. I think there's something wrong with my PowerPoint. I have to share it again. Can you all see the slides now, guys? Not on full screen, but like, can you all see in the normal mode?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So just check if you guys can like read the content, like the sentences are clear, right? You all can clearly read them.
Yes, right.
Okay, okay. All right, so then we'll do the lecture in this mode. Okay. Yeah. So guys, yeah. So last week we didn't have lectures. Like you guys didn't have my lecture. That will be rescheduled, and like the coordinator Malki will let you know about the rescheduled date. I will inform her, and then she will let you guys know. Um, Yeah, so the week before that, we started this new module called Resource Management in Health and Social Care, right? And then that was our first lecture. And in our first lecture, we talked about basically about human resource management, right? So under human resource management, We discussed what are human resources, and then what is human resource management, and then what are the components of human resource management. Okay, so yeah, so the first lecture was an overview about human resources and human resource management. Okay, so now you have a clear idea about, I hope you have a clear idea about um, what is what are human resources and what is human resource management and what kind of things happen in human resource management. Okay, so today, um, so today's lecture will be an extension of that first lecture that we did about human resource management. Okay, so in today's lecture, we will be talking about two main topics. So these are the two main topics that we'll be talking about today. Okay, so since you have a clear idea about human resource management now, today we can talk about the purposes of human resource management. Why do we have something called human resource management in our workplaces? What is the purpose of it? What is the purpose behind HRM? Okay, so we'll learn about the purpose of human resource management, and we'll also learn about the objectives of human resource management. Okay, so there are some objectives of HRM. So you guys will learn about those objectives as well today. Okay, so let's start off with the first main topic, the purpose of human resource management. Okay, so yeah, so before I directly jump into this topic, um, I will I want you guys to read the first few the points that I have mentioned in this slide. Okay, so I will read those points out loud for you. Okay, so the first point is in 2014, the average US company spent approximately $4,000 to fill an open position. Okay, that's a lot, especially for small businesses that usually have a tight budget. Employee onboarding and training further increase these costs. Okay, and if you hire the wrong people and they quit soon after, you are throwing money down the drain. According to a recent report, US workers are leaving their jobs because of unsatisfactory compensation, poor work-life balance, lack of career development, or job insecurity. Okay, so let's go back to the first point and let's try to understand what this slide is trying to tell us. Okay, so yeah, so these are some facts. Okay, so in the year of 2014, a certain a certain company located in United States has spent nearly $4,000 to fill a vacant position, to fill an open position in their company. Okay, so which means to recruit a person to that open position, to that vacant position, to recruit a person to that vacant position, they have spent nearly $4,000. Okay, so this company might be a big, well stabilized company, right? Because otherwise they would not have been able to spend a huge amount like $4,000. Okay, so but if you look at the second point, so you by looking at the amount $4,000, you can realize that it's a huge lot of money, right? So especially for small businesses that usually have a tight budget. So this company have spent $4,000 to fill a position. This company has been able to spend $4,000 to fill a position, maybe because this company is a big, well-established, financially stable company, a very well financially stable company. Okay, so it should be, because otherwise it wouldn't have been able to spend this much, right? But if we talk about small businesses, Okay, so there are small businesses, small companies that run with a tight budget, with a small budget. Okay, so there are small companies and small businesses which are comprised of very few people, a very few employees and employers, and have a tight budget or a small budget. Okay, so for a small business or for a small company like that, it is nearly impossible to um, to spend this much, to spend like $4,000 to fill a position, right? Because it's a small company, it's a small business. They have a tight budget. So for small businesses or for small companies, um, spending this much of money is very difficult as they have a tight budget, as they are not very well established in terms of finances. Okay, so yeah. And okay, so let's say you spent this amount of money and recruited someone. Okay, so let's say you spent this much, you found money somehow, and I mean, you gathered money somehow inside the company and you spent this much, and let's say you recruited the person. So even after recruiting someone, there will be certain things that increase the costs. Okay, so that's why the third point tells you employee onboarding and training further increase these costs. Okay, so so once you recruited someone, the job is not done. You have to keep spending more money for employee onboarding and training, because sometimes, um, not sometimes, like most of the time, once you recruited someone, you need to provide them a training, right? Like for few months, okay, or for few weeks at least. Okay, so most of the times, um, like once you recruit a person to your company, you have to provide them a training, right? So this training also costs a certain amount of money, right? Because sometimes the training is done by the people inside the company, but some, like in some companies, for training they hire people from outside organizations, from outside training institutes. Okay, so if you hire people from outside training institutes, you have to pay for them as well, right? For providing the training, you have to pay for those people. Okay, and there will be a training allowance also. Okay, so like once a company provides you a training, at the end of the training, they they pay you a training allowance, a certain amount of money um, for being trained. Okay, so they will pay that allowance to you. So that training allowance is, once again, it's some sort of money, right? So that's why, that is the meaning behind this third point. Okay, so even after you recruited someone, their onboarding, the employee onboarding and training can further increase the company costs. Okay, so there will be some costs, some money needed for training, like I said. If you hire people from outside to train your employees, you have to pay them. And then you have to, for your trainees, at the end of the training, you have to give the training allowance. So likewise, these processes will further increase the company costs. Okay, so now I hope you can understand how much a company spends in the process of recruiting someone, right? And also, once you recruited someone, nobody works for free, right? Monthly, you have to pay their salaries. And that happens, that you should be able to pay monthly in each and every month. Okay, so like once you recruit someone for a certain position in your company, like these kind of training costs and salaries. Salary means once again a cost for the company, right? For you as an employee, salary is a gain, but for the company, it is a cost, right? Because it's something that they are spending from their end. So it is a cost for them. It is a gain for us as employees, but for the company, it is a cost that they have to bear. Okay, so now I think you guys can understand the fact that a company spends a considerable amount of money when it comes to hiring people. Okay, so you spend a considerable amount of money or a lot of money when hiring people. So if you hire the wrong people and they quit soon after, you are throwing money down the drain. Okay, so as we discussed just now, as a company, you are spending a lot, like you are spending a lot of money when you hire someone. So if you did that incorrectly, if you did the hiring process incorrectly, and if something went wrong in the hiring process, and if you ended up hiring the wrong people, and if they quit soon after getting the job, let's say if they quit the job after 1 month or 2 months, then you have to hire someone again, right? And sometimes, like, yes, they might quit after 1 month or 2 months, and sometimes the company might have to terminate them. So if they did something um, like something severely wrong in the workplace, if you did something, I mean, at any workplace, there are rules and regulations that you have to obey, right? So if you work against those rules and regulations, like if you severely violated the rules and regulations at your workplace, then you will get terminated. So let's say you hired you let's say something went wrong in the hiring process and you ended up hiring a person who cannot follow the rules, who cannot follow the company rules and regulations. Okay, so then you will have to, and let's say that person did something uh, severely wrong. Let's say that person severely violated the company rules and regulations. So in that case, you have to terminate him or her, right? So once you terminate them, or or else they themselves might quit the job as well. Okay, so if you terminate someone that you hired, or if they quit the job by themselves, that position is becoming vacant again, right? Once they quit the job or once you terminate them, the position that he or she was holding in the company will be vacant, will be open again. Okay, so then you have to hire someone else again for this open position, for this vacant position. Okay, so hiring again means spending a lot of money again. Okay, so spending a lot of money for training again, spending training allowance, spending money for training allowances again. Okay, hiring people from outside for training again and paying them again. Okay, so if you hire someone wrong and they quit soon after, or if you terminated them, that position that they were holding in the company becomes vacant or open again. So you have to recruit another person again for that position. Okay, so recruiting again means spending money again. Okay, so if you do not do the hiring process correctly, that means you are throwing money down the drain, because if you couldn't do the hiring process well, as the HR department, as the human resource department, if you could not do the hiring process correctly, or if you could not do the recruitment process correctly, then you will have to keep spending money. You will have to keep spending the company you will have to keep spending the company money for hiring more and more people, right? So that is a huge wastage of money. And that is exactly why you should be very careful when you hire people to your company. Okay, so let's look at the last point over here. According to a recent report, US workers are leaving their jobs because of unsatisfactory compensation, poor work-life balance, lack of career development, or job insecurity. Okay, so let's say, okay, so let's assume that you did the hiring process really well. Okay, so let's assume that you hold on, guys. Okay, so let's say yeah, so let's assume you did the hiring process or the recruitment process really well. Okay, so even if you did the hiring or the recruitment process really well, the workers might, the employees might leave their jobs because of these reasons, because of unsatisfactory compensation. Compensation means salary. Okay, so if they are not satisfied with the salary, they might leave the job, probably, most probably. And poor work-life balance. So if they feel that they do not have a proper work-life balance, once again, they will probably quit their job. Okay. So if you like work-life balance means the balance uh, between your professional life and your personal life. Okay. So if you bombard someone with a huge lot of work, if the employee has to I mean, so we have working hours for each and every job, right? 9 to 5, 8 to 4, likewise we have working hours. Okay, so the best practice is people I mean, people should work only during these working hours. That means, I mean, overtime, yes, I mean, if you couldn't finish your workload, you can do overtime, but uh, I mean, there are, you might have seen people like who do their office work even after coming home, right? So the workload is sometimes, if the workload is really, really huge, like unmanageably huge, your working hours are not enough for you to finish your workload. So then you end up coming home and doing the remaining office work, right? So then that is an example of poor work-life balance, because like you are doing only the office work in that case, right? You do not have any time for your personal life. Okay, so that is one example for poor work-life balance. Okay, so when things like this happen also, yeah, when things like this happen also, the workers might leave the job. Okay, and lack of career development. Okay, so workers will leave their jobs when they have lack of career development. Okay, so career development means the development of your career. For example, um, okay, so for example, if you okay, so for example, if you join a certain institute as a junior lecturer, for example, let's say let's say you joined an institute as a junior lecturer this year. Okay, and then after few years, you will be an assistant lecturer. And after another few years, you will become a lecturer. And after another few years, you will become a senior lecturer. And after another few years, maybe you will become um, the head of the department or likewise. Okay, so there is a certain progression path for each and every career, right? So career development means that. Okay, so lack of career development means you have to stay in the same position for many years. Like there are companies like that. Like there is very, I mean, in some companies you don't have much chance, like you don't have much scope for career development. Once you once you get a certain designation, once you get a certain position, like that is your position for 10 years, 15 years, likewise. Okay, so then if that's the case, that is an example of lack of career development, because like you should be, once you join a company, um, you should be able to develop or enhance your career with time. You should be able to move from a lower designation to a higher designation after a few years, and again to a higher designation from that designation after another few years. Likewise, you should be able to progress inside your workplace, right? So if there is lack of career development, then this is once again a disadvantage for the workers or the employees working in that workplace. So they will leave the job, they will quit the place. Okay, or job insecurity. Okay, so job insecurity means um, a job insecurity means a job which is not secured. For example, if a certain job has, I mean, if a certain job doesn't have a fixed salary, so if a job does have a fixed salary, for example, if a job if the job that you are doing has a fixed salary, then you know that you are getting that amount in each and every month, right? But if your job doesn't have a fixed salary, you don't know how much you will earn. Okay, so this month it will be 80,000, maybe the next month it will be 10,000, maybe the following month it will be 20,000. Likewise. Okay, so there are jobs that do not have a fixed salary. Okay, so um, that can cause job insecurity because you are insecure about the amount that you will get, right? You never know the amount that you will be getting at the end of month because it is fluctuating. Okay, so job insecurity is something like that. Job insecurity means how secured you feel about your job. Okay, so if the workers or the employees feel insecure about their job, once again, they will end up leaving their jobs. They will end up resigning. They will end up quitting their jobs. Okay, so once your employees quit their jobs due to these reasons, once your workers or once your employees leave their jobs due to these reasons, to fill up their positions, the HR department has to hire another lot of people, another group of people to fill these positions in again, right? Okay, so for that hiring, for that recruiting, as we discussed earlier, you spend a lot of money for the hiring or the recruiting process. Okay, so that is why we have to, as HR department, as as an HR department, you have to make sure that you do the hiring or the recruitment process as correctly as possible. So then you won't waste money unnecessarily. Okay, so yeah, so the purpose, so you might be wondering, so topic is purpose of human resource management. Okay, so you might be wondering, so we discussed few facts in this slide. So now you might be wondering what is the purpose of HRM, right? So HRM means human resource management. Okay, so instead of writing human resource management, the full form, the full term I have written HRM in most of the places in this presentation. So do not get confused. HRM is the short form for human resource management. HRM means human resource management. Okay, so the purpose of human resource management is to prevent these issues. What issues? These issues. Okay, so the purpose of human resource management is to prevent these issues that I highlighted just now. Okay, so the purpose of HRM is to prevent these issues so that the people you hire will not leave their jobs. The people you hire will not quit their jobs. They will retain in the company. Okay, so then when your employees or workers retain in a company, um, you don't have to keep wasting money unnecessarily for the hiring or recruitment processes if your workers retain in the company. Okay, so the purpose of HRM is to prevent all those issues that we discussed in the previous slide and maximize a company's performance by investing in the right people. Okay, so the main purpose of HRM is to invest money in the right people, in the right set of people, and thereby maximize the performance of the company and also to prevent these kind of issues from happening. Okay, so these are the main purposes of HRM. Okay, so those who work in this field, those who work in the field of HR, those who work in human resource management field, have the skills, knowledge, and tools needed to find and employ top talent, help employees succeed in their roles, and ensure good working conditions. Okay, so the HR people, the people who work in human resource management field, have skills, knowledge, and tools and techniques that they need to recruit correct people, to help employees succeed in their jobs, and to ensure good working conditions. Okay, so the people who are engaged in the field of human resource management have enough skills, knowledge, and talents to do these things, to do their job. Okay, so depending on the organization, their responsibilities may include. Okay, so depending on the organization, the responsibilities of human resource management people. Okay, so these are here you can see a list of responsibilities of people who are in the field of human resource management. Okay, so these are the responsibilities of HRM people. Okay, so the people who are in the field of human resource management have these responsibilities. Okay, so let's look at the responsibilities. Internal and external recruitment. Okay, so internal recruitment, we talked about internal and external recruitment in our first lecture. I mean, first lecture means in our first lecture for this module, the week before last week. Okay, so in that lecture 1, we discussed about internal and external recruitment. So internal recruitment means you are hiring people from within the company. Okay, so internal recruitment means that recruiting people uh, who are already working in the company. Okay, so for example, if there is a, for example, yeah, so if for an example, if there is a manager position open, if there is a vacant if there is a manager position vacant, you can assess the performance of your assistant managers and find the assistant manager who has the best performance and then hire him or her to that manager position. So it's more like a promotion. You are promoting him or her to the manager position, to a higher position. From the assistant manager, he or she becomes the manager. So he or she is basically getting promoted to another higher position. Okay, and that position is also being filled. Okay, so that is an example of internal recruitment because you recruited a person from within your company itself. Okay, so that is internal recruitment. External recruitment is when you recruit people from outside. Okay, so in external recruitment, you recruit or you hire people from outside, the people who are not in your company, the people who are in the outside environment. So you are hiring people from outside. That is called external recruitment. And then candidate selection. Okay, so once you post a job advertisement, lots of people will apply for it, right? You will end up getting hundreds or even thousands of CVs. But there can be only one position. So there is only one vacancy, but you get hundred or thousands of CVs. So hundred or thousands of CVs, but only one position available. So that means you are not going to hire all those hundred or thousands people who send you the CVs, right? There is one position vacant, so you need only one person. So then you need to find one person. You need to select one person from all those 100 people or from all those 1,000 people. You have to find the candidate that suits the most for the vacant position. Okay, so for the selection, we discussed about selection tools in our first lecture. Okay, so there we talked for selection, HRM, human resource management people use several tools for selection. Okay, so interview, for example, interviews is a selection tool. You can hold interviews to select the correct person, and tests, certain exams like written tests or personality tests likewise. You can use several selection tools, and you can look at the education qualifications, and you can look at the prior job experience if they have any job in any prior work experience. Okay, so these are some selection tools. Okay, so you use these selection tools to select the candidate who suits the most for the vacant position. Okay, and then employee onboarding and training. Okay, so once you onboard an employee, once you recruit an employee, you probably have to give them training. Okay, so these trainings are also arranged by the HR department. Employee performance assessment. Okay, so once you provide the training, after the training, the employee will officially start working in the company, right? So once he or she starts officially working in the company, the job is not done. You have to keep um, assessing their performance. Okay, so like I mean, like uh, once you recruit someone and once they finish their training, they will officially start working in the company, right? So as the HR department, you can't say, okay, so this person officially started working, so our job is done, and then you like disconnect totally from that person. Okay, so you can't do that. You cannot do that because even after they officially start working, you have to, as the HR department, you have to keep assessing your employees' performance. If they are performing well, what are the things that they are doing well, and what are the things that they need to improve. Likewise, you need to keep assessing their performance. Okay, and then employee compensation. Okay, so compensation means salary. So the salaries and allowances are also handled by the HR department. Organization development. Okay, so the HR department, the people, HR people, are responsible in developing or in improving their organization as well. Okay, and compliance with labor laws. So in um, so when we talk about human resource management, you are basically dealing with people, right? Human resources means human beings, people. Okay, so when you deal with people, you have to comply with certain rules or laws imposed by the government. Okay, so every country has labor laws. Okay, so laws that are imposed by the government which applies for labors, which applies for workers or employees. So we call them labor laws. Okay, so as the HR department, you have to make sure that your company comply with these labor laws. Okay, and then labor and employee relations. Okay, so in certain companies there are employee unions or labor unions. Okay, so labor and employee relations means you have to make sure that you are um, dealing well, that you are dealing well with these labor unions or employee unions. You have to make sure that you do not have any issues with these labor unions or employee unions. You have to make sure that you uh, work with these uh, labor unions and employee unions peacefully. Okay, because sometimes there can be companies where there are lots of conflicts between the HR department and the labor unions or the employee unions. Okay, so you have to make sure that you do not have any conflicts with these unions, and you have to make sure that you are working well or dealing well with these unions that you have inside the company. Okay, and employee recognition and engagement. Okay, so like as the HR department, you should make sure that your employees feel that they are recognized and that they are engaged and involved in the processes that are happening inside the company, and you are responsible of your employees career development as well. Okay, so you have to, as HR people, you have to you have to be you have to provide opportunities for career development to your employees. I mean, employees should have uh, opportunities inside the company for their career development. Okay, so HR department is the department which is responsible of career development. Okay, so these are the main responsibilities handled by HR people in a company. Okay, so in large companies, there can be several people in the HR department. Okay, so there can be HR managers and then training and development managers, employment service managers, career counselors. Likewise, uh, in large organizations, you might have lots of people in the HR department. Okay, in large organizations, the HR department is filled with many people. Okay, but the situation is different in small companies. Okay, so in small companies, you have a tight budget. You can't hire lots of people for your HR department because you are a small company. So in small companies, you can see only a number of people in HR department. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so if in large organizations, you have many people for your HR department, and in small companies, you have only a few number of people for your HR department. Okay, so yeah. So in general, the main functions of human resource management include staffing. Staffing means recruiting people, employee orientation or training, providing training to the employees, employee welfare. Employee welfare means the welfare that you do for the employees. Uh, for example, like the kind of support that you give for the employees. Okay, so for example, like medical insurances, and then what do you say? Medical insurance is an example for welfare. And then what else? Like there are some companies who give like goodie boxes for their employees for like special occasions like Urdu, Christmas, likewise. Okay, and that
Cosmetics,
is
ma'am.
Hampers,
exactly
no, miss.
hampers. Yes, yeah, and yeah, cosmetics once again, like that is also welfare. And then yeah, hampers, those are employee welfare. Okay, so though I mean all those special things that you do for your employees in terms of their well-being, that we can consider as employee welfare. Okay, and employee retention means retention of employees inside your workplace. Okay, so employee retention means your employees stay in the company for a long run. They don't quit the job after few months. Instead, they stay in the company for a long period of time. They retain in the company for a long run. Employee retention means that. Okay, so these are the main functions of human resources management. Okay, so we discussed about the purpose of human resource management. So now we can move on to the objectives of human resource management. So guys, before we move on to this topic, can I know, is there anything that you guys didn't understand about the previous content that we discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about others? Did you all understand what we discussed in the previous slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I heard from two people. What about others? Are there any doubts?
Understood, ma'am.
All right. Okay.
Clear, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So let me check the chat. Okay, we don't have anything in the chat. Eh? All right. Okay, so then we
This is my suggestion.
yes.
I think HR department a company success depend on HR department decisions.
Yes, Janaka, that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing it in. Yes, like a company's success, like we can't say it 100% depends on the HR department because there are like several departments, right? There can be
No,
like
I
if
think
it's
human resource is the main point in the company.
yes, main point for sure, yes. Like we can't say completely we can't say the company success completely depends on HR department, but like it, like you said, it hugely depends on on the performance of HR department because HR department is the department which hires people for other departments as
Yeah.
well, right? So like
In the
basically like
beginning, it's help a lot. It's the beginning.
mhm,
It's the beginning.
yeah,
HR department is helping a lot.
yeah, exactly. Okay, and yeah, so like basically each and every person working in a certain company is recruited by this department, by the HR department. So yeah, so they have to make sure that that is the reason why they have to make sure they recruit or they hire correct people. Okay, because if they hire wrong people, if they hire incompetent people who cannot work, then all departments will fall out and the performance of the company will go down as well. Okay, so when the performance goes down, you don't earn enough income as well, right? You lose your clients, you lose your income. Okay, so lots of problems happen as a result of that. Okay,
I
so like
have to add one thing, ma'am.
yes, yes, is
And
this
they should give their attention workers' grievances, no, ma'am.
give their attention to what, Tilani? I'm sorry, it was not
Grievances, workers' grievances.
grievances. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that also sort of falls under employee welfare, right? I mean, welfare means you taking care of your employees, like physical well-being and also the mental well-being. Okay, so yes, that's a very valid point. The HR department should give attention to their employees' grievances as well. Grievances means like bad situations, the sad situations that your employees might face. Okay, so yeah, so you have to, as the HR department, you have to like if you see that any of your employees are having a hard time or a bad time, you should do your best to help him or her. Like you should talk to them and see what you can do from the company's side in such kind of grievances situations. Okay, so yeah, so those are some really good points, guys. Thank you all of you guys for bringing those points in. Okay, so yeah, so we can move on to the next main topic, which is objectives of human resource management. Okay, so yeah, the primary objective of human resource management is to ensure the availability of competent and willing workforce for an organization. Okay, as we discussed, the primary objective, the primary objective means the main objective of human resource management is to ensure the availability of competent means talented and willing workforce. Workforce means employees. Willing means the people who do their job willingly. අද අපි කියන්නේ කැමැත්තෙන් ජොබ් එක කරන අර කම්ප්ලේන් කර කරන්නේ නැතුව කැමැත්තෙන් කරන කට්ටිය, the people who enjoy doing their job. Okay, so willing workforce means that. Okay, so the primary objective or the main objective of HRM is to make sure you hire competent or talented people for the organization, and you also have to make sure that you hire a willing workforce. You should hire people who enjoy doing their job. Okay, so that is the primary objective. Okay, so we can categorize HRM objectives into 4 categories. Okay, so here you can, in this picture also, you can see the 4 categories: societal objectives, organizational objectives, functional objectives, and personal objectives. Okay, so these are the 4 main categories of HRM objectives. Okay, so let me go back to the next slide and we'll discuss what are societal objectives, what are organizational objectives, what are functional and personal objectives. Okay, so guys, give me 1 second. Hi guys, can you all hear me again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, so yeah, so we can categorize HRM objectives into four main categories like this: societal, organizational, functional, and personal objectives. So first of all, we'll discuss what are personal objectives. Okay, so personal objectives means the objectives that an employee um, has created on himself or herself. Okay, so personal objectives mean the objectives that you have for your own self. Okay, so um, for example, something like this. I will improve my educational qualifications and I will promote to this certain position within the next 2 years or within the next 3 years. So that is a personal objective, an example of a personal objective. Okay, so likewise, personal objectives are the goals or the objectives that you have set for your own self. Okay, so as the HR department, the HR department of a company, the human resource management people, the HRM people should assist employees in achieving their personal goals, at least insofar as these goals enhance the individual's contribution to the organization. Okay, so the HRM people, human resource people, the human resource department should help their employees to achieve their personal goals. Okay, because when your employees achieve their personal goals, it will enhance the organization's performance as well. Okay, because when your workers achieve their personal goals, they will contribute a lot more to the organization as well. Okay, so for example, if your employee, I mean, for example, if you promoted one of your employees from an assistant manager to a manager, okay, so an assistant manager has a little bit of a smaller workload compared to the workload of a manager, right? So not very small, but I mean, there is a slight difference. Like the workload for an assistant manager is slightly lesser than the workload of a manager. Okay, so once you promoted this person to a manager, his or her contribution is going to increase as well, because now he or she is handling a bigger workload. As the manager, he or she is handling a bigger workload now. Okay, so the bigger workload means the bigger workload means bigger contribution, right? Okay, so when you so that is an example. When you help your employees to achieve their personal goals, um, they end up contributing more to the organization. So the organization's performance can be enhanced. Okay, so the personal objectives of employees should be maintained, retained, and motivated um, by the HR department. Okay, and there are some. I will give you another example. Okay, so there can be some employees who are studying, who are doing their studies while working, right? Some people are doing their MBAs while working, some people are doing their masters while working, and likewise. So they might um, they might need some work hours off for their masters or for their MBAs. Okay, so like sometimes maybe they have to in some days. So there are like a part-time masters programs which happens on Fridays and during weekends, right? So if any of your employees are doing these masters or MBA programs, like they might have to leave early on Fridays. Okay, so maybe if the working hours are until 5, maybe he or she needs to leave by 3 o'clock, for example, only on Fridays. Okay, so in such situations, you have to um, like instead of scolding your employee for requesting to leave early, instead of scolding them, you should, as the HR department, you should support them, right? Because like it's about their education. Okay, so they are requesting to leave early on Fridays for their lectures, right? For their education, something related to education. Okay, so when your employees excel in education, it is really good for the organization, because with education, they are going to learn more and they are going to contribute more. When they contribute more, the performance of the organization will also go high. When the performance is high, you gain clients and you gain income from your clients. Okay, so yeah, so as the HR department, you should support your employees' personal objectives. Okay, that's about personal objectives and functional objectives. Okay, so functional objectives means to maintain the contribution of department at an appropriate level. Okay. Yeah. So there is a certain contribution of the HR department, right? There is a certain workload handled by the HR department. Okay, so functional objectives means the HR department should maintain their contribution at an appropriate level. Okay, so if the performance of the HR department is too good this month and very bad next month and too good again in the following month and very bad again in the next month, so if it's fluctuating like that, it is not good for the company. Okay, so you have to maintain your contribution level. You have to maintain the contribution of the HR department at an appropriate, at a suitable level. Okay, and yeah, and resources are wasted when HRM is either more or less sophisticated to suit the organization's demand. Okay, so yeah, so more or less sophisticated means so we talked about the HR departments in larger companies and in smaller companies. We in one of the previous slides, right? I told you that in larger companies, the HR department has many people, and in smaller companies, the HR department has only few people. Okay, so what if larger companies hire only few people for the HR department? If the large companies, if the bigger companies hire only few people for the HR department, it will be very hard for them to carry out the day-to-day company functions, right? Because it's a large company. There are lots of things to be taken care of, but only few people in the HR department. The people are not enough, right? Because it's a large company and there are lots of business processes going on. So to handle all these huge lot of work, you need more people. So large companies should have more people in the HR department. Okay, so if you are a large company and if you have very less amount of people in the HR department, that's not going to work. And similarly, if there's a small company and if there are too many people in the HR department, that is a waste of money, because you should pay salaries to all these people in the HR department, right? But the thing is, in a small company, you don't have lots and lots of work, right? I mean, you don't have lots and lots of business processes in a small company. In a small company, you have a few number of business processes happening, right? So for this few number of processes, few number of people will be enough. So if you unnecessarily hire more people, you have to pay more salaries unnecessarily. Okay, so then you end up wasting money. Okay, so that is the meaning of the second point. Okay, so if you do not plan the size of your HR department accordingly, you will end up wasting lots of resources. Okay? And that's about functional objectives. Okay, and then organizational objectives. Okay, so organizational objectives means the objectives that the organization has uh, put on you. Okay, so organizational objectives are the objectives that the organization has about you as an employee. Okay, so the objectives that the organization has imposed on an employee. Okay, so to maintain and improve the organizational effectiveness. Okay, so the organization expects you to work well, and the organization expects that as an employee you will maintain and improve the effectiveness of the organization. Okay, so yeah, so the HRM or the human resource management is a mean to assist the organization with its primary objectives. Okay, so human resource management helps an organization to achieve its primary or main objectives. Okay, and then we have societal objectives. Okay, so societal objectives means the objectives that you have in terms of the society. The objectives that you have for the society, for your society. Okay, so to be ethically and socially responsible for the needs and challenges of society. Okay, so a company or an organization should be ethically and socially responsible for the needs and challenges of society. Okay, so when there are challenging times in your society, as a company or as an organization, you should be able to help your society. Okay, so for example, you might have seen uh, like during the times of sometimes during the times of floods, there are certain companies and there are certain organizations um, like that provide those ration packs for those people who are affected by floods, right? You might have seen in news the companies or the organizations visiting those um, affected areas and providing like dry food or those ration packs or those goodie boxes to the people who are affected. Okay, so that is an example of how to be socially responsible. Okay, so that is an example of a societal objective. Okay, so you should support your society um, during challenging or difficult times. Okay, and to use their resources for society's benefits in ethical ways. Okay, so you have to use your resources for the society's benefit, for the advantage of the society. Okay, so basically, as a company or as an organization, you have to make sure to make the society a better place to live in. Okay, so those are societal objectives. Okay, and sometimes you might have seen some companies reach out to people who are differently abled and help them with like help them with different things. Sometimes they uh, provide money like financial support to those kind of people, and sometimes they like give materialistic things to those people like likewise you might have seen those in news, right? Okay, so that is also an example of societal objectives. Okay, so you reaching out to someone who is differently abled and then you provide financial support to them, or you provide like you provide materialistic things like goodie boxes or hampers to them. Okay, so that is also an example of how you treat the society that you live in. Okay, so as a company, um, you should make sure to be ethically and socially responsible for your society, for your people. Okay, because when companies do things like this, um, they will sort of gain a good name from the people, right? When they do this kind of charity kind of work, it will create a good name on the organization, on the company. So this good name will help you gain more customers and gain more reputation from the society as well. Okay, so when like you are giving um, things and you gain things in return as well. So when you reach out to people and help them, you are getting things like reputation in return as well. Okay, because like you gain a good name for the company, and then this good name will help you attract more customers. So more customers means more income, more money, more financial benefits. Okay, so there is always something that you get in return as well. Okay, so these are the four main objectives. Okay, so societal objectives. So in this diagram, you can see the four main objectives. Okay, so societal objectives means legal compliance. Legal compliance means complying laws. Okay, so legal compliance means complying with laws, and benefits union management relations. Okay, so yeah, so when you reach out to the society, you have to comply with the laws which are imposed by the government, and then you have to work for the benefit of the society, and you have to have good union management relations as well. Okay, and you have to have good relationships with unions like these employee unions and labor unions. Okay, and and other unions which are in the society. And organizational objectives means the objectives that you have for your organization, right? I mean, the objectives that the organization has. Okay, so human resource planning, employee relation, selection, training and development, appraisal. Okay, so these are some examples for organizational objectives. Okay, because these are the objectives of the organization. Human resource planning, employee retention, selection, training, development, appraisal. These are the objectives that the organization has. Okay, so those are the organizational objectives. And functional objectives. Functional objectives means the functions that are happening in the organization, like appraisal, placements, and assessments. Okay, personal objectives means objectives that you have for your own self. Okay, so training and development, appraisals, placements, compensation, salary, assessment. Okay, so these are the objectives that you have for your own self. So these are personal objectives. Okay, so yeah. So out of these four main objectives, organizational objectives are the most crucial one. Okay, so out of these, all these four categories of objectives are important. But out of these four, organizational objectives are the most crucial one. Okay, because organizational objectives are influenced by organizational goals. Okay, so organizational goals means the goals that your organization has. Okay, so the organizational objectives are influenced by these organizational goals. Okay, so you can break organizational objectives Okay, so you can break these organizational objectives into several parts. Okay, so this one, right? Organizational objectives. Yeah. So this is this one. Organizational objectives. You can break these organizational objectives into several parts. Okay, so what are these parts? Okay, so these are the parts. Yes, so you can break the organizational objectives into these main parts. Okay, so there are 8 main organizational objectives. Okay, so there are 8 main organizational objectives. So these are the ones that I just outlined are the 8 main organizational objectives. Okay, achieve organizational goals, work culture, team integration, training and development, employee motivation, workforce empowerment, retention, data and compliance. Okay, so these are the 8 main organizational objectives. Okay, so now we will discuss about each one separately. Okay, so in this diagram also, you can see the organizational objectives of HRM. Okay, so these are the organizational objectives of human resource management. Achieve organizational goals, work culture, team integration, training and development, employee motivation, workforce empowerment, retention, data and compliance. Okay, so we can discuss about the first objective. First organizational objective of HRM. Achieve organizational goals. Okay, so guys, before I start this topic, may I know, are there any doubts or did you all understand the stuff that we discussed so far?
I am clear so far.
All right. Can I hear from others as well?
Yes, miss. Yes, clear.
Okay. And what about others? Yes, guys? Y'all can reply in the chat.
What else, ma'am?
Okay, all right. Okay, so if there are any questions, you can ask or else you can put in the chat as well. Okay, so guys, give me 1 second again. I will be back in another minute. Hi guys, can you hear me again?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, okay, all good. Okay, so then we'll start discussing about each of these objectives of HRM, the organizational objectives of HRM. Okay, so the first one is achieve organizational goals. Okay, so the main function of HRM is to achieve organizational goals. Okay, so it is very important for the HRM or human resource management team to achieve organizational goals. Okay, so yeah, so these organizational goals or organizational objectives include these things. Workforce handling. Workforce handling means handling your employees. Staff requirements like hiring and onboarding, payroll management, and retirement. Okay, so these are some examples of organizational objectives. Okay, so do these object to do these things successfully. Okay, so okay. Yeah, so yeah. So workforce handling, staff requirements like hiring and onboarding, payroll management, and retirement. Okay, so let me highlight this. Okay, so these are the organizational objectives. Okay, so to do these things, to do these functions successfully, HR requires efficient planning and execution. Okay, so the HR department should do efficient planning. Efficient planning and execution, like the HR department should plan really well and execute those plans in order to achieve these objectives. Okay, so in order to achieve these objectives that I highlighted over here, the HR department should plan efficiently and they should execute their plans. Okay, so if they do not plan efficiently, or else if they do not execute their plans properly, the HRM process will be incomplete and unsuccessful. Okay, so once you plan really well, and once you execute your plans, achieving these objectives will not be that difficult. Okay, so planning and execution is the main point over here. Okay, so once you plan really well, once you plan ahead, you can see that achieving these objectives are not really difficult. Okay, so that's about the first organizational objective of HRM. And then we have the second one, work culture. Yes, so work culture. So what is the meaning of this word? Okay, so can someone tell me what do you all understand from this word work culture? What is work culture? As per your understanding, what is work culture? Yes, guys, you guys can share your thoughts. What do you all think work culture is?
Every companies have their own procedure norms.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's a good answer. So, are there any more answers from others? Yes, company processes is a part of work culture. That's a very good answer. And can I hear thoughts from others as well? You can tell me anything that you think about this word, work culture.
I think environment of work.
Exactly. Once again, a really good answer. The environment of work. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. So, both those answers are very good answers, guys. Thanks for answering that question. So, yeah, work culture is the culture or the environment that you have in your workplace, the culture that you have in your workplace. Okay, so work culture is that. Okay, so work culture plays a very important role in defining HRM and business performance. Okay, so the companies that have good HRM also have a good work culture as well. Okay, so most of the time, if your HRM is good, then the work culture is also good. And when the work culture is good, the business performance is also good. Okay, so if you are an HR manager, you need to be active while calling for strategies to foster better work culture. So if you are a HR manager, you have to make sure you have to take initiatives to implement a good work culture in your workplace. So how can we implement a good work culture in a workplace? Okay, so these are the things that we can do. Automated activities like leave approvals, reimbursement, request acknowledgement, etc. can help you. Okay, so yeah, so for example, let's take leave approvals. So in most of the companies, like in 99% of the companies, nowadays we have automated systems like computerized systems for leave approvals, right? So because it makes your life easy, right? So then you don't have to keep going to your managers or your supervisors requesting for leaves. You can directly apply for the leave through the system. Okay, so then your supervisor or the manager will see it through the system and will accept or reject your leave, will accept or deny your leave accordingly. Okay, through the system as well. Okay, so you don't have to run behind people for this kind of simple matters, right? I mean, leave is not a major thing, right? It is a very it's a very simple thing. So you can automate these kind of simple things. You can use automated or computerized systems for these simple tasks so that your employees do not have to run behind people for these kind of simple things. Okay, so yeah, so that is one thing that you can do. Uh, that is one way of implementing a good work culture in your workplace. Okay, and then you should provide quick operations and empowerment to employees, help in creating positive vibes at the workplace. Okay. So yeah, so if an employee, so quick operations means the operations or the functions should happen quickly. Okay, so for example, if an employee reaches out to the HR department for asking for help for some task, like if an employee reaches out to the HR department asking for help for something, I mean something related to work, obviously. So it doesn't make sense if you provide the help 1 week later or 2 weeks later. Okay, so that's what I meant. The operations, like you should help immediately. I mean, um, you should help the employee as soon as possible when they reach out to you. Okay, so the operations should be quick. You should quickly get back to your employees. Okay, so then when they get quick operations, like when they ask for help and when they get the help quickly, the employees will have a positive vibe at the workplace. They will feel like they are being supported and they are being heard. So it will create a positive vibe at the workplace. And this positive vibe helps to improve your work culture. Okay, and then as the HR department, you should develop and maintain healthy and transparent relations. Okay, so that means you have to treat all your employees equally. Okay, so there should not be any inequalities. There should not be any discrepancies. You should maintain healthy and transparent relationships with all your employees, with all your workers. Okay, and then adopting the right solutions like employee management software can solve more than half of your job. Yeah, so there is this softwares that you can implement at your workplace. For example, employee management software. Okay, so employee management software is a software which carries all the details about your employees. How many employees? So like this software carries all the data and all the information about your employees. Okay, so what are the educational qualifications and I mean the employee's name, the age, the address, the residential address, their educational qualifications, their prior work experiences, the number of leaves that they have taken so far. Likewise, and if they have any medical conditions, what are those medical conditions? Likewise, you can store all this information about your employees in this employee management software. Okay, so this is a software which helps you to manage your employees. Okay, because this software, you can enter all this information, you can enter the information about your employees into this software. Okay, so then it makes your life easy because when you enter all this information to a software, it is easier to manage, right? Because let's say you need to find some information about a certain employee. If you had files, like if you had like hard copies, you have to dig all your files and like dig all your papers, which will take so much of time, right? Which will take so many hours or even days. Okay, but contrastingly, if you have a software like this, an employee management software like this, you just have to type in the employee's name, so all the details will appear. Okay, so that is easier. Okay, so that is this is another thing that you can do to improve your work culture. Okay, and another thing is small steps like short and sound onboarding processes. Okay, so guys, there are some companies where the hiring process is unnecessarily long and complicated. Okay, so like there are some companies, their onboarding process or their hiring or their recruitment process is unnecessarily lengthy and complicated. So this kind of destroys the work culture, right? If your hiring or if your recruitment process is unnecessarily lengthy or complicated, the employee, the person you are going to hire is not going to be happy about it, right? It is a burden for the candidates. Okay, so you have to make your onboarding process, you have to make your recruitment processes short and sweet. Okay, so small steps like short and sound onboarding processes can help build a good image of the workplace. Okay, so when the onboarding process or when the recruitment process is short and sweet, more candidates will be interested in the company, right? More candidates will apply and they will be happy and satisfied about the recruitment process when it is short and sweet. Okay, and it helps build a good image of the workplace as well. Okay, so these are few things that you can do to improve your work culture in the workplace. Okay, so let me go to the next objective. Okay, team integration. Okay, so team integration means uh, so so one of the main objectives of HRM is to make sure that all of your employees work as a team. Okay, so to work as a team, you should have really good communication skills, right? So this is the reason why we did the communication module before this module, because now you have a really good understanding about the effective communication, right? We talked a lot about communication in that subject. Okay, so to work as a team, you should have really good communication, proper communication skills. Okay, so yeah, so team integration means working as a team. So one of the main objectives of HRM is to make sure that all your employees work as a team. Okay, because when you work as a team, it increases the productivity of the company as well. Okay, so yeah, so how can you facilitate team integration at your workplace? Okay, so these are few things that you can do. This is this is something that you can do to facilitate team integration at your workplace. Okay, implementing a self-service portal. Self-service portal. Implementing a self-service portal. Okay, so self-service portal uh, is a portal where you can apply for leaves and if you need any help, you can uh, direct your questions through the portal as well. Like you can uh, like you can send a message to or an email to the HR department through this portal. Okay, so self-service portal is a like you can implement a self-service portal at your workplace. Okay, so in the self-service portal, the employees can apply for leaves by themselves. The employees themselves can apply for the leaves through the portal. They don't have to run behind anyone. They just they can apply by themselves. And if they need anything, any help from the HR department, a service letter or something like that, they can ask for that help through the portal as well. Okay, so there will be a certain form to fill, a Google form or something like that. So then you can fill that form, and once you click submit, your query will go to the HR department, so they will get back to you and they will do you the help. They will issue you the letter or any help that you asked for. Okay, so you can do these things directly through the portal. Okay, so these kind of portals help your employees to work as a team, because this portal is not restricted to one department, right? This portal is not only for the production department. This portal is not only for the QA departments. In the portal, you have all the you have people, you have access to all the departments. You can contact through the portal, you can contact people at QA department. You can contact people at HR department. You can contact people at production department. You can contact people at research and development, R&D department. Okay, so you have access to all the departments through this portal. Okay, so when you have access to all different departments, it um, it promotes the team integration, right? It allows you to work as a team at your workplace. Okay, so this is one thing that you can do to implement team integration at the workplace. Okay, and then training and development. Okay, so one of the main objectives of HRM is to provide their employees with proper training and development. Okay, because sometimes, like if you don't provide your employees a training at the beginning, they will not feel confident to do their job, right? They might not feel confident. They might doubt themselves. They might doubt whether they are actually competent for this job or not. Okay, so like when you provide training and development programs to your employees, it boosts their confidence. At the end of the training program, the employees feel like they are ready for the job. Okay, so with that confidence, they can do their job really well. Okay, so training and development is another huge responsibility which is on the shoulders of HR department. Okay, because when you train your employees become independent, right? When you train your employees, when you teach them what to do and how to do things, they will become independent. They can work under minimal supervision. When they are well trained, when your employees are well trained, they know how to solve problems by themselves. They know how to do things by themselves without asking for help from people, right? So they become independent. Okay, so training, that is why training and development is important. Okay, so as the HR department, there can be some difficulties such as planning, scheduling, training sessions, evaluation of each onboards, likewise. Okay, so planning and scheduling training and development sessions can be difficult sometimes. Okay, because sometimes for the training you have to hire people from outside, so you have to check at what times they are available and then at what times your employees are available. So planning and scheduling can be a bit difficult for the HR people when it comes to training and development sessions. Okay, so yeah, so for training and development also you can have software like training management software. Okay, so you can use this training management software for your training and development processes. Okay, so in this training management software, you get auto reminders and you get schedulers and you can track things easily. Okay, so this software makes the training and development process easy. Okay, so here in the previous point, I told you that planning and scheduling these training sessions can be difficult. So what is the solution for this difficulty? Training management software. Okay, so when you use this kind of training management software, in this kind of software, you have auto reminders and you have like easy schedulers and you can track things easily as well. Okay, so this is a kind of software that you can use to make the training and development process easy and manageable. Okay, so that is how HRM does training and development. Okay, and then the fifth organizational objective of HRM is employee motivation. Okay, so the HRM should make sure the HRM people should make sure that their employees are constantly motivated. Okay, so the most important thing here is, guys, the motivation should be constant. Okay, so if you motivate them in their first month only and from second month onwards you are starting scolding them, it's bad, right? It doesn't make sense. Okay, so motivation should be constant. It's something that you should give to the employees constantly. Okay, so how can HR motivate employees? Okay, so this is how you can motivate your employees. Give power to them, right? Give some sort of a recognition to them and take their views on things. So even in meetings, ask for your employees' opinions. Okay, so do not uh, believe only your opinion, ask for other people's opinions and views as well. So then they feel valued. And then involve them in weekly meetings or decisions. Include them in meetings and decisions. Even if it is a fresher, let them join. So even if it is a fresher means a newly joined person. Okay, so even if it is a fresher, join them. Ask them to join the meeting. Ask them to voice out their opinions. Ask them to speak up. Okay, so this is how you can motivate your employees and keep the morale always high. And carry out yearly appraisals. So I taught you guys how the appraisals are happening, right? In an appraisal, your manager or your supervisor evaluates your performance. Okay, and then they tell you what kind of things that you do well and what kind of things that you need to, what are the areas that you need to improve. Okay, so if your manager, uh, if your manager is very happy with with your performance, if your manager feels that you are performing really well, these appraisals can lead to things like salary increments and promotions as well. You will end up getting uh, increased salaries or promotions as well. Okay, so salary increments and promotions can happen as a result of appraisals. Okay, so these are some things that you can do to motivate your employees. Okay, so even for appraisals, even for appraisal management, you can have a computerized feedback system. If you are the manager, you can give your feedback to your employee through this automated system, through this computerized system. So you don't have to meet them in person, because guys, when it comes to large companies, when it comes to smaller companies, it's fine. Only few people are there, right? So you can meet in person, that's fine. But if we talk about larger companies where like thousands and thousands of people work, like if there are like 10,000 people in a company, it's very hard to meet in person, right? Because everyone has their schedules, everyone has their workload. So your free time may not be a free time to your employee. Okay, and the employee's free time will not be a free time for you. Okay, so there are lots of conflicts when there are lots of people working in the company. Okay, so in such cases, you can use an automated feedback system for appraisal management as well. So during appraisals, the manager can enter their feedback into this system. Okay, so without meeting the employee in person, they can insert their thoughts, insert their feedback into the system. Okay, so the employee can see the manager's comments, the manager's feedback through the system. The employee also can access the system, so he or she can see the feedback given by their manager. Okay, so that is easier than meeting in person when it comes to large organizations. Okay, so when your employees are satisfied, fulfilled, and motivated, they end up performing well. When they perform well, the performance of the organization also increases. Okay, so that is the importance of employee motivation. Okay, and then the sixth organizational objective of HRM, workforce empowerment. Okay, so workforce empowerment is about empowering your employees. So how can you empower your employees? Okay, so you can use tools like employee self-service portal. Can help save efforts too. Okay, so employee self-service portal is, I already explained you what is the self-service portal. So it is a portal where you can apply for leaves directly. You don't have to run behind people. You can apply for your leaves directly through the system. through the portal. And even if you reach out to someone, you can send messages to those people, emails to those people directly through the portal. So self-service portal is it's a platform like that, okay, where you can do things by yourself rather than depending on someone, rather than uh, instead of depending on someone, instead of running behind people, you can do things on your own through these kind of portals. Okay, so this kind of self-service portals is one way of empowering your workforce, because when you implement these kind of services at your workplace, your employees learn how to be independent. They learn how to do their work by themselves. So they feel empowered as a result of that. As a result of their independency, they feel empowered. Okay, so yeah, so through these portals, you can apply for leave requests. You can apply. You can generate your pay slips. Okay, so you don't have to run to the HR department every time you have to get your pay slip. Instead of that, you can get it downloaded from the portal itself. Okay, and remaining leaves, upcoming holidays, manager details, everything the employees will be able to access through the portal. Okay, so you don't have to knock the HR's desk for small queries like this. You can work by yourself and feel empowered. Okay, and then the seventh organizational objective is retention. Okay, so retention means retaining the people that you hire. Okay, so if I hire a person to my company this month, and if he or she leaves 2 months later, that is not retention. Okay, so retention means retaining your employees for a long period of time. Okay, so yeah, so it often occurs that employees leave the organization within 2 months of onboarding. Sometimes the employees leave the company within 2 months after joining, within 2 months of onboarding. Okay, so this can be due to ineffective training management or rough hiring process. Okay, so this can be the ineffective training management or rough hiring process, means like tough hiring, strict hiring processes. Okay, so these can be some reasons for your employees to leave the job after a few months after joining. Okay, so these can be the reasons for your employees to leave the job after a few months after joining. Okay, so yeah, so keeping your employees retained can help maintain a good state of employee turnover. So it is extremely important to keep your employees retained, because if your employees keep leaving the job, you have to hire more. You have to keep hiring people to fill those positions, right? Okay, so as we discussed in the first slide of the lecture, when you keep hiring people, you keep wasting your money, because hiring process takes, hiring process requires some sort of a cost. Okay, so when, like, if your employees do not retain and if they leave their jobs frequently to fill up their positions, you keep hiring people and you keep spending money for the hiring process, which means you keep losing money. Right? So this is why retention is extremely important. So when you retain your employees, they don't leave the job. So you don't have to keep hiring people. So you don't waste money unnecessarily. Okay, so this is why retention is very important. Okay, and then the final one, the final organizational objective of HRM, data and compliance. Okay, so data and compliance means, so the HR department is the department that handles all the data. HR department is the department that handles data about all the employees, right? So they have all the data and information about their employees. HR department knows everything about their employees. They have the access to their educational qualifications, the employees' educational qualifications, the employees' personal details like contact numbers, residential address, likewise, and then bank details, and what else? Prior work experience. So HR department is the department that has access to all this data of their employees. So when you deal with this data and information, you have to comply with some rules. Okay, so there are data compliance laws. In each and every country, there are data compliance laws. Okay, so you have to comply with those laws. You have to, as the HR department, you have to comply with those data compliance laws. Okay, you should not violate those laws. Okay, so yeah, so automated software like the HRMS. Okay, so HRMS means Human Resource Management System, can help you keep errors at the side and leave no window for owing any penalty from IRS. Okay, so yes, yeah, so yeah, so if the company is large, you have a huge number of employees, right? So so you have to store information about all these employees. So storing this information manually is nearly impossible because you have lots of employees. So what, instead of a manual database, what we can do is we can go for an automated software like HRMS system, and in that system we can enter all the information about our employees. Okay, so and and the plus point of this kind of systems is that your data or the information will not get lost. Like if you store them in files or folders, if you store them manually, those papers or the files might go missing, right? We never know. But this automated software, whatever you enter to this kind of software, uh, will will remain in the system. Once you enter a certain information, it will remain in the system. It will not go missing. It will not go, I mean, it will not get misplaced. Okay, so it will, all those data and information you enter will retain in the system, will remain in the system. Okay, and yeah, okay, so you can manage everything through this HRMS system. Okay, and then IRS. Okay, so what is IRS? Okay, so guys, IRS stands for Internal Revenue Service. Okay, so Internal Revenue Service is a service, like it's a like it's sort of an organization in United States which is responsible for collecting taxes. Okay, so this is the IRS is a US organized US body which is responsible of collecting taxes. Okay, so yeah, so you can settle the taxes related stuff also via this HRMS system. Okay, because you have to open a tax file for each and uh, for each and every employee, right? A certain percentage of their monthly income will be reduced for tax. That is the general practice happening in most of the countries. Okay, so you will lose a certain amount of money from your monthly salary in terms of tax. Okay, so this tax will be directly, uh, the amount that is being reduced will be reduced directly by the HR department to settle the taxes. Okay, so it's not like you paying the taxes by, I mean, it's not like අපි පස්සේ ගිහිල්ලා නෙමෙයිනේ අපි ගිහිල්ලා අතින් නෙමෙයිනේ tax pay කරන්නේ. The HR department will once they finalize your monthly salary, they will direct a certain percentage from your salary for the to settle the taxes. Okay, so these taxes related matters can also be sorted out through this HRMS system. Okay, so the amount that is being reduced is not the same for everyone, right? I mean, the percentage is the same. For example, if it is 5%, it is 5% for all the employees. But my 5% is not similar to someone else's 5%, right? I mean, my 5% can be 7,000. Someone else's 5% can be 12,000. Someone else's 5% can be 11,000. Likewise. Okay, so the amount that is being reduced is not same for everyone. So since it is a differing amount, since that amount is different for everyone, it is easier to handle it through an automated system like HRMS system. Okay, so you can use this HRMS system to settle the tax related matters as well. Okay, and yeah, so you have to it is a main responsibility of HR to follow the IRS guidelines. Okay, so you have to comply as the HR department. You have to comply with all these rules and guidelines. Okay, so there are so IRS guidelines are basically about IRS guidelines are basically focused on taxes. Okay, and other than that, there are data protection laws as well. Okay, so because the HR department, as I said earlier, the HR department is the department that has access to the data, right? So you deal with personal data of employees. So it is your responsible to protect those data. Okay, so yeah, so the as the HR department, you should follow all these tax related guidelines and data protection guidelines. Okay, so that is the final or the 8th organizational objective of HRM. So guys, we reached the end of the lecture today. So do you all have any questions? Do you all have any questions, guys?
No,
Yes.
ma'am.
All right, so can I hear from all of you guys?
No, miss. No, miss.
All right, okay, guys.
Not us, ma'am.
All right, okay. So all right, so guys, then if there are no questions, we are good to end the session. So I will end the session now. And so this note is already on WhatsApp. So I will upload it to the class notebook as well. Okay, so you can get it, access it from WhatsApp, or else can access it from the class notebook as well. Okay, so guys, I will end the session now. I will see you guys again next week with the new lesson. Have a nice weekend,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Thank you, miss.
No worries, guys. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You too,
No
ma'am.
worries. Thanks, Tilani.